Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Bhallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janna Bhallabha Girivardhari Ho! Jasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjano Jasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjano Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Oh Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Janna Ballabha Girivardhari Ballabha Girivardhari Gopi Janna Ballabha Girivardhari Ballabha Girivardhari Yasura Nandana Braja Jasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Oh Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hari Hari Bol Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Sri Sri Radha Madhava ki, Sri Sri Radha Giridhari ki jai, srimadbhagavatam ki jai. They said that last week we had 12 people watching class, 12 or 15 people. Tuesday, yeah, because before that was the films, so they just kind of dropped off. Tapas was here because they were cleaning. So, oh yeah, because they keep a tab of how many people are watching. Yeah, no, they don't. Hardly anyone clicking in because it's they have the movie themselves or whatever. But so live classes start up again, people tune in. So. Hi. Okay. Well, this used to be a movie theater. Up there was the projector and everything, and that was it. Subhadra's husband, Larry, he remembers coming here as a kid to see movies before it was an Elks Lodge. So So I guess we're getting back, everything comes back around. Cyclical. Okay, so I've got some things to refer to. Yes. Is that better? I don't remember the name, yeah. Okay, so we're going to read actually 10, 11 verses today. We'll start with 13. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaimoti Yadayat Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, 19th chapter. This is text 13. We'll begin today's class. Atrina Chorito Hantum Pritu Putra Maharataha Anvadavata Shankrudhas Tishta Tishteti Chabravit Atrina Chorita Hantum Prituputra Maharataha Anvadavata Sankrudhas Tishta Tishteti Chabravit Atrina Chorito Hantum Prituputra Maharataha Anvadavata Sankrudhas Tishta Tishteti Chabravit. Anyone like to chant? Anita Chodita Hantum Pitruputro Maharataha Anvadavata Sankrudhas Tishta Tishteti Chabravit. Atira Chodito Hantum. That's it. Adina Jorita Hantum Pitruputra Maharataha Anvadavata Sankrudhas Tishta Tishteti Chabravit. Do you like chanting? Are you a chanter? Okay. Oh, no, that's practice. Was it perfect? Practice makes perfect. Okay, so here's the synonyms. Atrina, by the great sage Atri. Choditaha, being encouraged. Hantum, to kill. Pritu Putra, the son of King Pritu. Maharataha, a great hero. Anvadavata, followed. Shankrudha, being very angry. Tishta, just wait. Iti, thus. Cha, also. Abravit, he said. Translation. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When the son of King Pritu was informed by Atri of King Indra's trick, he immediately became very angry and followed Indra to kill him, calling, wait. Do you have to repeat that one? When the son of King Pritu was informed by Atri of King Indra's trick, he immediately became very angry and followed Indra to kill him, calling, wait. Okay. Utishta, you know what that is? Utishta, you know what that is? Get up. Yeah. No more waiting. Oops, stop waiting. Stop resting. So when you wake the deities in the morning, Utishta. That's the begin the mantras like that. So purport. The words Tishta are used by a Kshatriya when he challenges his enemy. Never heard Yudhisthira used that out front when he was battling in the old days in the 70s. When fighting, a Kshatriya cannot flee from the battlefield. However, when a Kshatriya out of cowardice flees from the battlefield, showing his back to his enemy, he is challenged with the words Tishta Tishta. A real Kshatriya does not kill his enemy from behind, nor does a real Kshatriya turn his back on the battlefild. According to Kshatriya principle and spirit, one either attains victory or dies on the battlefield. Although King Indra was very exalted, being the king of heaven, he became degraded due to his stealing the horse intended for sacrifice. Therefore, he fled without observing the Kshatriya principles, and the son of Pitu had to challenge him with the words Tishta Tishta. Om Agyantimirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksul Unminitam Ninataismai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchika Badrubhashcha Kripa Sindhu Beva Japatidanam Bhavani Bhu Vaishnavi Bhu Namo Namaha. With your kind words and blessings, and for those who are watching, I'll try to say a few words that are pertinent. And we have a bunch of verses to read because it just goes on telling the story, then we'll come to another purport. But in this particular purport, Prabhupada's making the point in Vedic culture, and we'll read a little bit in the Bhagavatam about the qualities of every human being should develop, but the different orders of life, they had their duties. And pleasant or unpleasant, you had your duty to perform. And by performing that duty, you're pleasing the Lord. There's peace in society. And you have some character. So here's a Kshatriya, someone who is a Kshatriya. One of the symptoms is he's courageous in battle. What's that Sanskrit in the verse in Bhagavad Gita? He likes a fight. Kshatriya likes a fight, a righteous fight. He should be, but even other fights they kind of they like a fight. So if you don't like fighting, you're not a Kshatriya in the sense of, And if you're challenged, you have to accept the challenge. Just like Yudhisthira Maharaj, he knew he wasn't very good at gambling, but because Shukuni and Duryodhana, they knew he couldn't say no. He was a Kshatriya. So come on, let's gamble a little bit. Let's say chess. You can't say, no, I can't do that. Yes, okay, let's go. So in a battlefield, it says here, when a Kshatriya would go to battle, there's no question of retreating. There's no retreating. You either win or you die. Those are the stakes. So therefore, we can understand they're very careful about when they declare war also. Just like it's described in the Mahabharata. That war, the Kurukshetra war, was after a lot of diplomacy and talking and attempts to come to some other agreement. The Pandavas reduced it down to 5 villages. That's all. They're willing to take 5 villages, and that's it. And Duryodhana said, no, I wouldn't give you enough land to stick one pin in. So, what to do? And even Krishna himself came to try to get a peace, some arrangement, because you start fighting a war, this is it. So either you're going to win or you're dead. So, and there's not supposed to be any dirty fighting. What do they call it in the Middle Ages? Chivalry. Yeah. There are knights of honor. In the knights, they had some chivalry, some honor. None of this, shooting someone in the back, let alone someone on your own side. What do they call that? Soldiers sometimes shoot their friendly fire. They shoot their own officers in the back because they don't like them during a battle. That happens a lot. So these aren't Kshatriyas. So there's some honor. There's some honor there and duty. And here's the king of heaven. He's a king. Indra, he lost it. So let's read a little bit more. Text 14, translation. King Indra was fraudulently dressed as a sannyasi. Even in wartime, if you're caught as a spy, without your uniform on, there's no mercy. There's no mercy. Like that. So here he's disguising himself. Like that. So having knotted his hair on his head and smeared ashes all over his body, upon seeing such a dress, the sons of King Prithu considered Indra a religious man and a pious sannyasi. Therefore, he did not release his arrows. There's a little side story here. I'll tell it. And maybe you've heard this story before about Radhanath Maharaj when he first went to India. When he, before he met the devotees and all that, he was living with yogis and so on. He tried to get into one temple and they wouldn't let him in because he was from the West. They threw him right out. So what he did, he went and he knotted his hair and smeared ashes all over his body to look like this. They let him in. They didn't recognize him. Thought he was a sannyasi or a yogi or something like that. They smeared it. He went in with all the Naga Babas and all that. Just kind of snuck in with ashes all over his body. Just went on into Darshan. So they didn't recognize him. So next translation: when Atri Muni saw that the son of King Prithu did not kill Indra but returned deceived by him, Atri Muni again instructed him to kill the heavenly king because he thought that Indra had become the lowest of all demigods due to his impeding the execution of King Prithu's sacrifice. So he disguised himself, and then King Prithu's son didn't recognize him. Atri said, no, that's him. And he didn't kill him. Being thus informed, the grandson of King Vena immediately began to follow Indra, who was fleeing through the sky in great haste. He was very angry with him, and he chased him just as the king of the vultures chased Ravana. Okay. Jamal, who's the king of the vultures? Do you know the name? Maybe that's going to be your initiated name. Jatayu. Jatayu, that's it. That is going to be your name. I know it. I can feel it. That's such a nice name, Jatayu. Okay. Next translation. When Indra saw that the son of Prithu was chasing him, he immediately abandoned his false dress and left the horse. So he was taking the horse with him. Indeed, he disappeared from that very spot, and the great hero, the son of Maharaj Prithu, returned the horse to his father's sacrificial arena. Text 18. My dear Vidura, when the great sages observed the wonderful prowess of the son of King Prithu, they all agreed to give him the name Vijatasva. Yeah. He who has won the horse, yeah. Text 19. My dear Vidura, Indra, being the king of heaven, was very powerful, immediately brought a dense darkness upon, he's not given up, dense darkness upon the sacrificial arena. Covering the whole scene in this way, he again took away the horse, which was chained with golden shackles near the wooden instrument where animals were sacrificed. Text 20. The great sage Atri again pointed out the son of King Prithu, that Indra was fleeing through the sky. The great hero, the son of Prithu, chased him again, but when he saw that Indra was carrying in his hand a staff with a skull at the top, and was again wearing the dress of a sannyasi, he still chose not to kill him. Text 21. When the great sage Atri again gave directions, the son of King Prithu became very angry and placed an arrow on his bow. Upon seeing this, King Indra immediately abandoned the false dress of a sannyasi and, giving up the horse, made himself invisible. Text 22. Then the great hero, Vijitasva, the son of King Prithu, again took the horse and returned to his father's sacrificial arena. Since that time, certain men with a poor fund of knowledge have adopted the dress of a false sannyasi. It was King Indra who introduced this. Okay. It says, Jnana Durbala, those with a poor fund of knowledge. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Since time immemorial, the sannyasa order has carried the Tridanda. Later, Shankaracharya introduced the Ekadandi sannyasa. A Tridanda sannyasi is a Vaishnava sannyasi, and an Ekadandi sannyasi is a Mayavadi sannyasi. There are many other types of sannyasis who are not approved by Vedic rituals. A type of pseudo-sannyas was introduced by Indra when he tried to hide himself from the attack of Vijitasva, the great son of King Prithu. Now, there are many different types of sannyasis. Some of them go naked, and some of them, generally known as Kapalika, carry a skull and a trident. All of them were introduced under some meaningless circumstances, and those who have a poor fund of knowledge accept these false sannyasis and their pretenses, although they are not bona fide guides to spiritual advancement. At the present moment, some missionary institutions, without referring to the Vedic rituals, have introduced some sannyasis who engage in sinful activities. The sinful activities forbidden by the Shastras are illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. These so-called sannyasis indulge in all these activities. They eat meat and flesh, fish, eggs, and just about everything. They sometimes drink with the excuse that without alcohol, fish, and meat, it is impossible to remain in the cold countries near the Arctic zone. These sannyasis introduce all these sinful activities in the name of serving the poor, and consequently, poor animals are cut to pieces and go into the bellies of these sannyasis. As described in the following verses, such sannyasis are pakhandis. Vedic literature states that a person who puts Lord Narayan on the level with Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma immediately becomes a pakhandi, as stated in the Puranas, Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahmarudaridaivatahai Samatvanaiva Viksheta Sapasande Bhavedruvam. In Kali Yuga, the Pakhandis are very prominent. However, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has tried to kill all these Pakhandis by introducing his Sankirtan movement. Those who take advantage of the Sankirtan movement of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness will be able to save themselves from the influence of these Pakhandis. Om Agyanti Vedandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksulun Minitam Dina Taismai Sri Gurave Namaha. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, I have a few different references. The first one is going to be this verse that's quoted from the Puranas, and it is right here. We'll talk a little about sannyas and a few things like that, but let me pull up this verse. Here we go. It's interesting. This is taken, the reference right from the Chaitanya Charitamrita is when Lord Chaitanya was in Vrindavan with his one assistant. At that time, the people said they were seeing Krishna again in Vrindavan. And what happened was, at night, out there in Kaliya Ghat, there was a fisherman out in the middle of the night with a light on a boat. And foolish people were mistaking that to be Krishna dancing on Kaliya's hoods. So they came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they said, they started speaking about it in Vrindavan. Oh yeah, Krishna's come back, he can go at night, he's dancing. Like that. And even Lord Chaitanya's servant, Madhacharya said, can I go and see? And he got the sauce. Like that. And then just right after that, some intelligent men came. And they said, and they brought that up. I said, no, they explained what it was. It's just some fishermen, and the lights, people think those are the jewels on Kaliya's head. And it's just a fisherman way out in the river, and they're thinking it's Krishna dancing on Kaliya's head. So very foolish. And then these persons said, actually, Krishna is in Vrindavan, it's you. And they started glorifying Lord Chaitanya as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he objected, covered his ears and so on, and he started speaking a few of these verses. So this verse is quoted here with a very nice purport by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, because what we're referring to here is even though they are so-called sannyasis, actually they're pasandis or pakhandis. So what does that mean? So this is... This verse is quoted after this purport to back up what is being said. They're similar. A foolish person who says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the same as a living entity is an atheist. And he becomes subject to punishment by the superintendent of death. Now this is Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's, what he has to say about this word pasandi. He says that the word pasandi refers to one who considers a living entity under the control of the illusory energy to be equal with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the most popular spiritual, so-called spiritual view today. Right? Most people you run into, they say they're spiritual. This is what they think. We're all God. So they're all pasandis. So, equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all material qualities. Another kind of pasandi is one who does not believe in the spirit soul, the superior potency of the Lord, and therefore does not distinguish between spirit and matter. While describing one of the offenses against the chanting of the holy names, specifically the offense called Shruti Shastra Nindana, blasphemy in the Vedic literature. Jiva Goswami says in his Bhakti Sandarbha, worshippers of impersonalists like Dattatreya are also pasandis. Concerning the offense of aham mama buddhi or dehatma buddhi, considering the body to be the self, Jiva Goswami states those who are overly absorbed in the conception of the body and the bodily necessities are also called pasandis. Elsewhere in the Bhakti Sandarbha it is stated, a pasandi is one who considers the demigods and the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be one. Therefore, a pasandi worships any kind of demigod as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you see that's very prominent also, right? Amongst the Indian community, there's the Neo-Hinduism. They think they're all the same. Who's your God? Hey, who's your God? Hey, who do you worship? This and that. And they make no distinction. They just make no distinction. Oh, Krishna, Ram, Ganesh, Shiva, Durga. Yeah, and they actually many times they have a whole bulletin board, and they describe this how they're all the same. And then above that is the impersonal light. These are all manifestations, equal manifestations of that impersonal. So this is the dumbing down of Vedic culture. It's called Neo-Hinduism. There's nowhere in the Vedic literatures. It's definitely the exact opposite of what's said in the Bhagavad Gita. What is that? Vishwa Hindu Prashad. That's the biggest Hindu organization in the world. Years ago, they decided to come up with a definition of what's a Hindu and what is the main book of Hinduism, and they decided it's the Bhagavad Gita. So, if you're a Hindu, follow Bhagavad Gita. So where in the Bhagavad Gita does it say that Krishna and all the demigods are the same? There are many verses that say just the opposite. So, and then sometimes you hear lectures and that is your interpretation. No, it's not. That's exactly what Krishna's saying. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like they call it supermarket. It's like a supermarket. You got a row for everything. The word pasandi has been described in many places in the srimadbhagavatam, and he lists 4 or 5, 6 different places. On the whole, a pasandi is a non-devotee who does not accept the Vedic conclusions. So, and then he quotes the verse, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explaining this, that I'm an ordinary human being, I'm not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, the clock's gone. The clock is gone? Okay. So, boy, so much to say, so little time. Well, one thing is here, and there's a lot more verses about the sannyas and so on, so I'll leave that, because someone can bring up about sannyas and so on. The main thing I'd like to bring up here is, the qualities, what happened. Indra lost all of his good qualities due to, what is that? Bhogaishvar prasaktanam taya paritachetasam. When one becomes too attached, Bhogaishvarya, to enjoying and opulence, one's mind, one loses it like that. It becomes bewildered. I guess is the word that's used. One's intelligence and mind, they become completely bewildered. And in that bewildered state of mind, one can do all kinds of things that should not be done. Simply a disturbance, and such a disturbance that his life was threatened. It is such a grievous offense. Prithu Putra, the son of Prithu, was going to kill him. It's one thing you do, but how, what could you do that you're going to be killed for it? That's pretty bad. Right? The death penalty. And instantly. So that's a pretty bad offense. So, I wanted to read, there's a section here, Narada Muni is explaining the qualities or behavior of a perfect person, and he talks about the different orders of life and what sannyasis are supposed to be like, real sannyasis and so on. But in the beginning of this chapter, before he starts talking about the different orders of life, he explains the characteristics or qualities that every single human being should have. It's quite interesting because that means everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, man, woman, young, old. Doesn't matter your ashram, doesn't matter your varna. These are the qualities of a human being that That's by having them, you satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we can see, in just hearing them, I'll read the translation, how we're doing. How we're all doing on the human scale. This is the Vedic culture, what it means to be a human being. In other words, because we're acting and animals are acting, what is it? Dvipadupasu, you know what that means? Dvipada pasu. Two-legged animal. So, human beings can just be like two-legged animals. And what's the difference? Some animals have 4 legs. We have 2. There's insects that have 6, right? And you got a centipede. How many legs does a centipede have? 100. That's a lot of legs, right? So, what's the difference? So it's described here because those 4 activities of eating, sleeping, mating, defending are common. So what makes us different than the animals? And here it is. There are general principles to be followed by all human beings. Here they are. Truthfulness, so interblue it on that one. Okay. Mercy, austerity, bathing twice a day. Tolerance, discrimination between right and wrong, he blew that. Controlling of the mind, he blew that. Control of the senses, he blew that. Nonviolence, celibacy, charity, reading of the scripture, simplicity, satisfaction, rendering service to saintly persons, gradually taking leave of unnecessary engagements, observing the futility of the unnecessary activities of human society, remaining silent and grave and avoiding unnecessary talk, considering whether one is the body or the soul, distributing food equally to all living entities, both men and animals, seeing every soul, especially in the human form, as a part of the Supreme Lord, hearing about the activities and instructions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of the saintly persons, chanting about these activities and instructions, always remembering these activities and instructions, trying to render service, performing worship, offering obeisances, becoming a servant, becoming a friend, and surrendering one's whole self. O King Yudhisthira, these 30 qualifications must be acquired in the human form of life. Simply by acquiring these qualifications, one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 7th Canto, 11th chapter, text 12. 8 to 12, excuse me. Yeah, there's a bunch of verses taken together. Like that. It's Narada Muni's beginning his instructions, so it's a nice list here. Think about. Even in Vedic culture, as I listened to one lecture in Gurukula, the children would go to the Gurukula, then on their graduation, they would be tested. In the test, and there's different references. I remember Bhaktivedanta Maharaj told 2 stories from different Puranas or something about students graduating, and the test had nothing to do with scholarship. How many verses they remembered, and that was there. That's very important, but it was your character. That had to do with it. And there's one long story about this one. The brahmachari was sent out. The test was you sent out to watch the cows. And he was out there and he started begging from other people, and he's got tired, so he started begging, and he said, you shouldn't do that, on behalf of me, and this and that. And he got away. He said, trying to bend the rules down to taking milk from the cows because he was hungry, and then the foam, and every time he came back, the guru chastised him. But finally he learned his lesson to just control my senses. And there's another story about a brahmachari that went out to the field. He said, I want you to take care of the rice fields for the day. And the brahmachari, there was they make the rice fields, they have the borders, mud stacked up and so on, and one broke. So he lay down in the field as the dike. And he just stayed there all day long. And then the guru said, hey, where's Jamal? Excuse me, Jatayu. Where's Jatayu? He said, I never came back from the rice fields. So they all went out at night. It's dark as night. Dangerous snakes and this and that and whatever. And they found him lying there. Maharaj, I just tried. He said, you passed. You passed. Like that. So just lie down and became the dike. So there's different stories there. But the point being, it's one's character. That means one's educated. One has very, very good character. That's the most important thing, is one's character. So That's why this pastime, and there's many pastimes like this, where one, they say in every scripture there's stories about people who did the right thing and stories about people who did the wrong thing, and they're equally important to us because we can understand what we're supposed to do. Sometimes, you have, Saint Teresa's and you have Hitler's and Mussolini's and Stalin's, and the list can go on and on and on. I won't say it. No, okay. But just you got the good and the bad and in between. But these, what's the word I'm trying to think about? Very prominent examples on both sides. Just like in here, who do we have on the front? Hiranyakashipu. There's never been a better example of a materialist than Hiranyakashipu. All our so-called materialists we have in our memory of our history, over the last hundreds or thousands of years, or even today, there's no comparison. He was the big demon in the whole universe, like that, the whole universe. People on other planets don't even know about what's going on here. Someone said a recent quote they read was that when aliens go by this planet, they roll up their windows and lock their doors. Just go by the neighborhood, just go by real quick. It's like, who's going to stop here? So the biggest demons have already come and gone, so we can read about what they did and how mistakes they made, and the great devotees are there also. So here we have Indra. He shouldn't have acted like that. He's the king. He's when a responsible person does something really stupid, it's big news, because he shouldn't be doing that. Just like we have in our current situation. Someone in a post like that shouldn't be acting in that particular way. He's not supposed to. It's like I said, and here we just read, if you are a human being, you should be acting like these 30 qualities. That's what's expected of us. But what happens? Bhogaishvaya prasaktanam taya pratetasam. And unfortunately, in today's society, people are encouraged, right, to be overly attached to their body and their opulence and enjoying. And what can they expect? You got billions of people, taya pratetasam, with uncontrolled minds, going crazy. Yeah, Vana Sankara. So no sense control. No, they're completely bewildered by Bhoga and Aishwarya. Those are the goals in life: enjoyment and money and opulence and so on. Very unfortunate situation. So Indra's and Indra has stooped so low to disguise himself as the most respectable person in human society, which is the spiritual leader, the sannyasi. Couldn't he have picked someone else? He should have picked something else. I shouldn't have done it in the first place, but just see the problem. And it says, since that time, there are so many unscrupulous persons who disguise themselves, knowingly or unknowingly, as renunciants, and simply bewilder people and cheat people in the name of renunciation and so on. Like Prabhupada talks about so-called sadhus in Vrindavan and holy places. They're simply there to fill their belly, like that. Just simply to fill their belly, and they're engaged in so many nonsense activities. So that can be brought up in the future classes, because there's quite a few verses from here on in about what's going on here, and good examples and bad examples of sannyas and what sannyas is meant to be. So this is a grievous offense by Lord Indra, very grievous offense like that. So one has to be very, very careful. And of course, the take home, or take ashram, or whatever you call it, take home, take ashram, is our own lives. We have to be very, very careful, because people look up to devotees. They actually look up to devotees, and when we do something foolish, it doesn't bode well at all for us, for the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Prabhupada, the founder. Let's be very, very careful. Very, very, very careful like that. So I think we've come to an end of our time. We have. It's the end time. The end of time. So are there any questions or comments here on this verse so far? Do you want to start carrying a skull and a stick out in Sankirtan? Just checking. Thought maybe you got an idea from this verse. Yes, Prabhu. Is there another microphone for him, or do we just kind of... Okay. He's enamored by the class. I spoke so eloquently. He's transfixed. He's thinking about his initiated name now too, Chitayu. He's got him going. So Jataya, that's such a nice name.
You made this point that people look up to devotees. It's true. I was listening to one lecture by Navina Narada Prabhu, one of the most legendary book distributors in our society. Legendary. Because he's empowered more than anything to distribute books. But he was making this point in one seminar how when we go out there, we're ambassadors, and ISV, ISKCON Silicon Valley, they have this whole understanding that they're ambassadors of goodwill. And an ambassador is not just, he's specifically a designated person who represents the nation. So when we're out there, we're representing ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada, our Guru, and the Parampara. You mentioned on another topic that this Hindu organization is the largest one in the world. I thought ISKCON was the largest Hindu society. No,
it's not a movement.
Mm-hmm.
It's an organization of different members and so on, and they oversee, kind of like Hinduism, like that. It's that kind of organization. I don't want to call it scholarship, not management, but in that sense, it's not a Hindu religion in the sense of that. It's an organization to kind of oversee things. They called us once, asked us to help with some seminars and things like that. And they appreciated the Final Journey seminar. They sent us a letter. So they're just kind of overseeing things and kind of monitoring, I guess you could say, Hinduism and doing different things like that. So, I don't think ISKCON is the largest Hindu movement in the world at all. No, we're far-reaching, but there are bigger organizations than Hinduism. Yeah. So, there's bigger ones than ISKCON, but the size. Yeah, absolutely. No. Well, maybe worldwide expanded, but as far as size, I can tell you one thing though: we're the ones who are spreading Bhagavad Gita as it is. That's a given. Quality, that's for sure. Yes, that's true. Yes, but
I realize V is a word for the earth, so it's related to that. But I looked it up, and here's what Pritu means: broad, wide, expansive, extensive, spacious, large, great, important, ample, abundant, and copious. So we just read how we milked the earth, and all of these things came out, and everything was. That's how we did it.
You should look up Jatayu also, so you can start thinking what his name's coming out. Okay. So we can end here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to srimadbhagavatam, and come back tomorrow for more